They say a leader will get nowhere without a strong, winning team. But how do you create such a successful team? How do you motivate them? How do you build camaraderie? How do you encourage them to excel and encourage them to grow themselves? And most of all, how do you lead a team with different personalities and backgrounds and experience levels, all to achieve those big goals? Well, you're going to learn all of that and more in today's episode. We're sitting down with Corporate Vice President and Executive Board Member Kevin Stutler, and he's going to reveal to us everything it takes to create a winning team every single time. If you want to avoid turnover and create a team that wants to work with you, you're going to want to listen to Kevin's advice all the way to the very end. Before we get started, if you're excited to learn strategies to help you become the winning leader you're meant to be, hit the subscribe button and bell icon now so you'll be the first to know when a new adventure is posted every week. Welcome to Adventures in Leadership on Kristie TV. This is where high achievers go for the tools, confidence, and motivation to become a successful leader. Let's do this. Kevin Stutler is Vice President of Enterprise Ancillary Business for a large health insurance company. He develops and executes strategies for ancillary products within the commercial and the government health markets. And he serves on the executive board for the organization's national subsidiary company. Kevin's also active in the community, and he serves on the board of directors for his state's Dental Association Foundation and his state's Chamber of Commerce. Kevin is no stranger to executive leadership. In the past, he was Regional Vice President of Specialty Sales and Distribution at Anthem. And he was also Senior Vice President of Financial Institutions and Groups at American United Life Insurance Company. Not only is Kevin super sharp at sales and strategy, I'm honored to call him a very dear friend and a leader that I truly admire. I am here with the awesome Kevin Stutler. I'm excited about our interview today. Kevin, how are you?
You know, Kristie, if I was any better, I'd be twins.
Okay. I would expect nothing less from you. That's awesome. Well, anyway, I'm really excited to have you here. I have known you for a while, and I've always admired your leadership style. And I was like, I've got to get Kevin on here so you can bestow all of your cool knowledge to all those aspiring leaders out there, especially the ones that want to be leaders or maybe the brand new leaders. You've got a lot of experience to share, and I can't wait to get started. Give us just a couple little tidbits about Kevin, you know, personal, professional, whatever.
I've lived in 9 different states in my travels in my career. You know, I grew up in Ohio and I was educated in Ohio. I went to, and don't make fun of the way I say this, the Ohio State University.
Okay.
He is a part of the brand. And, you know, we carry that, you know, like a badge of honor. The things that happened in my childhood really molded me, you know, into the person that I became later on in life. An example of that was when I went to Ohio State, I worked full-time all the way through the 4 years and graduated on time. I was really proud of that. And the last year, I worked 2 jobs full-time. And it was one of those deals where there wasn't a lot of sleep time available, but I just had a deep-seated desire to be able to graduate on time without owing anybody any money. And then I had another desire. I wanted to go to Europe with a buddy when I graduated. We worked extra and made more money and went to Europe for 6 weeks after I graduated. I figured it would be the grand present that I would give to myself for graduating from college in my undergraduate degree. That kind of formulated my ideas and work ethic as I moved into my career. I've been in the financial services business for now going on a little over 41 years.
Wow.
I started in 1979, and I was in the banking business for just about 7.5, 8 years. And then 86, 85, 86, I got into the insurance business. Insurance has been my life for the last 35 years, and I've really enjoyed it. It's one of those deals where if you can find something you really like, then you're not really having to go to work every day. Believe it or not, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out here in the world that think insurance is just not that exciting. But it gave me an opportunity to learn a lot of great things and network with a lot of great people, make friends from coast to coast in this country. I've been in every state but 4 states. When I retire someday soon, I'll get in the opportunity to go to those last 4 states. My wife, Lydia, she's put up with me for 41 years, and we have 2 children. Lindsay, she's 35, lives in Portland, Oregon. and my son Dylan, and he's 32 years old.
So obviously you didn't go just straight from college right into being a vice president, right? And being a former CEO and all this awesome stuff that you've done in your experience. Gosh, how did you make the jump from maybe being an individual contributor to a vice president?
You know, I started out as a salesperson, and I had a territory. I had moved out of banking, and I had moved from West Virginia, where I was a banker, to Ohio, and I got a job selling credit and mortgage insurance, which is probably the least desirable insurance career that you would want to pursue. And I was told, if you can go in and just sell, I worked with banks and auto dealerships, if you can just get 3 banks to come into our company in this new territory where we had no business at all, then we're going to help you along, and that's going to help to further your career. And in the first year, I was fortunate enough to write the Ohio Bankers Association, and instead of writing 3 banks, I wrote 270. And
wow.
that was my catalyst into a successful sales career. It was also a one-way ticket from Ohio to North Carolina to the home office. And instead of having one state as a territory, they said, well, if you can do this in Ohio, can you do this in other states? I was too young to know that that might not be possible. And I said, yeah, sure, I can do that. And we did that over a period of 4 years and signed up a lot of other banking associations and really grew the book of business. And that took me to the next stop, which was Anthem. And back then there weren't Anthem. I worked for one of the Accordia companies. And that's really when I started to get a real touch from the people that I worked with that I might have an opportunity to move into management. And it was still early in my career. And, so I ended up being like a player coach. I still had a territory, and traveled all over the country. But I had people that I needed to manage from a sales perspective. And that gave me a lot of good opportunities because the people that I worked with were really good about mentoring me and giving me guidance and giving me the understanding that, this is our expectation. This is how hard you're going to have to work to be able to achieve these goals. And by the way, we're never satisfied. Just remember that. And we want you to meet and exceed your goals every single day. So I woke up every day in the early stages of my career with what I would call a deep-seated desire to meet and exceed my goals. And that was really part of a trademark for me later on. I just, a goal is given to you to exceed. If you're really good at it, you're going to meet it. And let's figure out how you can do better. And so that really was the early stage of my managing career back in the 1990s. I moved on up the ladder and got other positions. And then eventually I worked for a company in Indianapolis, Indiana, American United Life. And they put me in a position to become a vice president for the first time.
Oh, wow.
And I worked my way up the ladder with hard work and expectation that we would exceed goals, and worked my way into being a senior vice president. Unfortunately, that got me a one-way ticket to Macon, Georgia, to run my first company. I say unfortunately because a lot of people, when I moved there, I thought, oh golly, I'm moving to Macon, Georgia. I love Macon, Georgia, just for anybody that's watching. It was a great experience for me. It taught me how to run a company. It taught me how to manage a P&L. And the company that I ran had 5 subsidiary companies. So that really gave me a lot of insight into how things, flow, how they work together, how they really lean on each other to put themselves in a position to be profitable and successful and to grow. And that's always been my mantra with any company that I've had the privilege of running, or any group of people that I've had the opportunity to work with, is that not only are we going to perform at our best level, but we're going to do the best we can to be able to meet and exceed that goal. That took me eventually to my last place where I've worked as a vice president for the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. And in doing that, a lot of things that I learned along the way got put into practice. One was in my early days, in my desire to meet and exceed all these goals, I had a terrible, terrible temper. And
really?
Yeah.
You?
I had a terrible temper. And
never know.
And I could not control it the way that I needed to control it. Stress and things of that nature really led to, the short fuse on the triggering the temper. Until one day, I was having trouble sleeping, wake up in the middle of the night, go to work, but you're still in bed, can't do a thing about anything laying in bed. One morning, this is absolutely a true story. I woke up, I walked in, we had a big double vanity with a big mirror, and I stood in front of my side of the vanity, and I looked at myself, and I said, Kevin, there is absolutely nothing you can do about stuff that you have to do at work at 2:00 in the morning. So what I want you to do is every night when you lay your head on the pillow, I want you to go to sleep. And then I don't want you to wake up until it's time to get up in the morning. And every morning since then, which that was about 14 years ago, I have done that.
Oh, wow.
So that's one of the keys to who I am today. The second part of that was you can't get mad at anybody anymore. You can have emotion, but you can't show your temper. You cannot show your temper at work. That's absolutely forbidden for you, because if you do, you can't control it. So if you can't control it, don't do it. And so that was a big deal for me. And that's why, Kristie, you've never seen my temper, because no. I've never shown it, and will never show it, because it, for me, is not constructive. Now, I was interviewed for a job one time. The person that hired me had been in the National Football League. So I thought, I'll do a good job of trying to cuddle up here in this interview and use a football analogy. And the question was, what kind of manager are you? I said, well, it's kind of like football coaches. In football, you've got one coach. Let's use the NFL since you were in the NFL. And you've got an NFL coach who screams at their players like they're still in college and has expectation based on fear. And some of those people are successful. Some of them are not. And then you've got other coaches in the NFL that treat those people like they're adults and that want to work together as a team, have the camaraderie to achieve the one goal that we want to achieve together, and that's win the Super Bowl. Not go to the Super Bowl. We want to win the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Every year, that's the goal. Even if all the sportscasters and everybody say, this team's terrible, they're not going to win the Super Bowl, that's still what we aspire to do, is to go and win the Super Bowl. And so he looked at me and he said, well, which one are you? And I said, I'm the guy that really wants to treat people like they're adults and that they're a part of the team and that they know what they're supposed to do. They have the capability, the experience, and the background and understanding what it takes to achieve the goal and meet and exceed it and to win the Super Bowl. And that's the way I would coach if I was an NFL coach. Yeah. And I said, that's the way I am in real life. It's not a case of people not having the capabilities of being a calm coach or a coach that instills fear. I said, that's your own personal preference as a leader. That's your own personal preference as somebody that manages people. That's what works for you. So in my career for the last, I'd say 15 years, the most important thing is I have been me. And for me to be me, I just have to coach calmly and coach with the expectation that people understand what the goals are. And you as a leader, me as a leader, we have to create what that expectation is each and every day. And you have to continue to reinforce it. So that's what's taken me along in my career. And if you said, what are the two biggest things that ever happened? One was waking up in the morning, go standing in front of the mirror and telling yourself, you can't do anything about it at night, go to bed, go to sleep. And the other one was, I knew I had a problem with the temper, and I just had to dig deep and have the self-discipline to say, that's not going to be a part of my demeanor any longer at work.
You've also done a very, very good job of building a very solid team culture and in building solid camaraderie around all the teams that you've had. How do you kind of mesh the two? You have high drive to exceed goals, and there could be team members that might not share that same vision, but I've seen your teams and these people are on fire. They're always wanting to go above and beyond. What's your magic pill or your magic behind creating that really good team culture and camaraderie and then meshing that drive to exceed the goals? I mean, meeting is great, but how do you put the two together to create like this explosive team culture?
First thing I think is you need to know the people that you work with, whether you inherit a team or you hire a team or a hybrid of those two things. And I sit down with each and every person and ask them, what are their expectations? What are their desires? What are their dreams about work? And what do they want to accomplish? Some people have a desire to really accomplish a lot. They want to be the president, or they want to really excel at what they do. And, they have goals that they want to achieve. There are other people that say, I'm not really interested in doing anything but what I'm doing. So I think that's really the most important thing. The second thing I do is I ask a couple questions and I make a couple comments. The first one is, just remember this. We work together as a team. You don't work for me. You work with me. My name's not on the paycheck that you receive every week or 2 weeks or every month. It's the name of the company that we have the privilege of working for. You work with me and you work with everybody else, and we work together as a team. The second thing is, I ask a question, and that is, do you aspire to be the president of this company? And most people look at me and think, I'm not going to be the president of this company. Why do you ask such a stupid question? And I say, I don't think it's a stupid question, because if you want to be the president of this company, then we need to equip you with all the ability to become the president of this company, whether that's educational or that's experience and other background, or in a cross-pollination with other areas of the company to get the tools that you need to be successful. And I have found that there are a lot of people that I have promoted past me, and people ask me, aren't you jealous that somebody got a promotion and they moved by you? And I'm like, absolutely not. The reason is, if I make everybody successful that I work with, because we're giving them the tools to be successful, then I'm going to look pretty good at what I do. And, that's a real payoff as a leader and as a manager. And so at the end of the day, I try to create teamwork where people have the independence to do their job. Now, with that comes a risk. The biggest risk for managers is empowering their employees. And you see all these things about, I'm going to empower. But a lot of leaders continue to look over the shoulder because they just don't have the faith to let it go away to the employee that's supposed to be responsible for that part of the job. Delegation is a real challenge for a lot of leaders, especially new leaders. In the most recent company that I worked for, we had a young leader come, and I said, you specifically need to understand how to delegate. And she said, I just can't let it out of my fingers, because I know if it's going to get done and get done correctly, I'm the one that's going to have to do it. Mm-hmm. And I said, there's a postscript to delegation. And it's one of the hardest things you'll ever learn in your career, whether you're in sales or whether you're in operations or whether you're in IT or whether you're, in accounting and finance. It is follow-up. And if you're a delegator, you've got to be able to follow up on what you delegated, because you are the one that is ultimately responsible. If I told people, what's the single most important thing as you get into leadership that you need to continue to be able to accomplish, that would be the art of delegation.
Okay.
The art of delegation is something that continues to be fine-tuned each and every day of your leadership career, because it never goes away and you're ultimately still responsible. There are a lot of things that have created, the camaraderie. But once you sit down with people and you start to get to know them, then you have an idea about where their strengths are, and where their pitfalls may lie, and how you can help to strengthen those pitfalls and put yourself in a position to be able to exceed those goals every day. Leadership, camaraderie, the opportunity to create a team that is cohesive does a couple things for you. Number one, when you empower people, you instill loyalty. They know you trust them and that you respect them, which are probably the two of the biggest things that we have to try to face as leaders. Can we earn the trust and respect, and can that be reciprocated with the people that you work with? Now, a lot of people think, well, you just got to be really loved by the people you work with. I've never aspired to have all the people really love me that I work with. It's nice if they do, but the bottom line is they have a job to do, I have a job to do, we have a job to do, and we have to do it together. It's all that rowing the canoe in the same direction. That's really what we have to aspire to do as leaders, is to make everybody understand, here's the direction we need to go. Here are our expectations. One of the things that I think is important as you continue to blend together your team is all work and no play makes dull employees. I've always aspired to create some fun times so people would have an understanding of what fun really means working, with me and with the people that are in our area. Every year that I've been in business, that I've been a leader, I put together a working offsite, and it's a planning session for the following year where everybody gets an opportunity to put together their business plan, because you can't go anywhere if you don't have a roadmap. I mean, what's the biggest thing you use now? GPS. I mean, what did we do before we had GPS? Well, we had maps.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite as easy, but you've got to create a roadmap, and your business plan is that. And I don't believe that the leader is the one that should say, here is the roadmap, and this is what we're going to follow. I think that is really a team effort. People have to come together and understand we're in this together. We're going to have to build this plan together, and then we'll go and tell everybody about our great plan. Everybody will buy in, and we'll be so successful. That actually is the way it's been written down and drawn up, and that's the way it's worked for me in my entire career. The other part of that is when you bring a group of people together to put a planning session together, and you do it over a couple days, you create networking galore. People become really team members. They get to know other people. They get the opportunity to spend time with them working. They get the time to spend time with them playing. And it's amazing how that bundles your team together in a very cohesive fashion. And it does one other thing. It creates loyalty, not to you as the leader, but to each of those people together. Now they are bound together by one common thread. They all like each other. They all play together. They all work together. They're all successful together. They all write the plan together. They do everything together. What else does that do for you as a leader? Well, not only does it give you the best opportunity to exceed your goal, but it creates a certain amount of loyalty, again, not to you as a leader, but to the group. Therefore, you have built a team, and your team is going to be just wildly successful. The other thing that it does that I just absolutely despise as a leader is it eliminates turnover. I say it eliminates turnover. You always have somebody that leaves, and if they leave and go to another position in your company, that's fine. You've prepared them for that.
Right.
If they leave and go to another company, I'm always disappointed at that. That type of balance of hard work and play, teamwork, networking, and understanding the people that you work with and what their responsibilities are just creates the ultimate team and the ultimate team concept that can meet and exceed those goals year in and year out. Never in the last 10 years have I not met and exceeded the goal.
Wow.
And I work for a $31 billion company. Yeah. And I think that's, something to be pretty proud of. And think about it is I make sure that I don't brag on me. I make sure that I brag on everybody, because everybody made it possible. We made it possible. And, there's a lot of cliche and a lot of, next thing this guy's going to tell us, he treats everybody the way he likes to be treated. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
I've always known you to be like that. It's true.
I believe that there's no way you're going to wear out the golden rule. If you treat people the way you want to be treated, you got a good chance. There's always somebody that you can treat them the way you want to be treated, and it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
And you have to identify that. What you have to do is make sure that you're not trying to fit round pegs into square holes. And if somebody has a different vision than you, the best thing I can tell you as a leader to figure that out very quickly. Give them another opportunity. You'll do them a favor and you'll do yourself a favor. In my last 10 years in the department that I've run, very few people that have left the department.
What do you do when you have some people who aren't on board or disengaged or actively disengaged? How do you handle that as a leader?
Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to sit down and have a discussion with that person. There's nothing better than a one-on-one. And I have a series of one-on-ones with all my leaders to understand, what's happening not only in their area, but what's happening with them from a management perspective and the people that they have the privilege of managing and working with. But if I have somebody that, whether they're toxic or just they're not getting on board or doing the things that, I think are going to work to continue to meld our team together to be successful, to meet and exceed that goal, I sit down with them one-on-one and I ask them, what's driving your thinking? I try not to be critical,
right.
Although sometimes you have to be, if you're trying to get your point across. And criticism could be the things that you're doing. There's another way that maybe we could be more successful. if we could examine that. Then, at that point in time, if they're not willing to examine, an appropriate, change for them and for the department, that they're probably not going to work. And you have to be candid with them and tell them, I don't think that this is going to work out long term. I'll do everything that I can to help you find something else. No, I'm not firing you. No, I'm not severing your job or doing anything like that. I just want to do what's going to be best for you. I think people appreciate that for the most part.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to be criticized. Nobody likes to feel like they're not doing, that they're paddling the canoe in the other direction and everybody's going forward and they're going backward. But, I've had people that didn't get along, and I sit them down in front of me and I have them turn to where they're facing each other. We flip a coin and say, okay, you go first and you say what you're having a problem with. And you take things head on.
Mm-hmm.
And then after they have their chance to have their say, you give them what the rules of the road are in terms of being able to continue to work and be successful and productive in your area that you lead. And you let them know, here is my expectation. Here is our expectation as a team. If you do these things, you're going to be just fine. If you do not, you're not going to be just fine. And then, for those types of situations, I set up regular one-on-ones between those people so they can continue to work together. And then sometimes you have to make tough decisions. I've had to let people go before, and that's the most unpleasant thing you'll do in your career. And unfortunately, I've had to do it along the way. And each and every time, I always ask the question, rehabilitation, if this person needs some additional work or some additional empathy or something, have I not done that, and can I do that?
Mm-hmm.
And there's only one time that I asked that question to my boss when we were going to let somebody go. And he said, are you willing to stake your career on this person being rehabilitated? And I looked at him and I said, no, I'll take care of it. It's never pleasant. It's always unpleasant. And, you just got to really put a lot of thought into things like that. But at the end of the day, if you've got somebody that's really not doing the job, tell them what the job is and how they need to do it.
Yeah.
From your perspective. One of the other things that I've always said is, and this is not really characteristic of my leadership trait, but I'll tell them, I am not going to have a negative reflection from this department overall that reflects on me negatively because something that you weren't able to accomplish. People don't want to let people down. People
Right.
don't want to let their leader down. So if you tell them that, and I have told people that on many occasions, that I don't want to look bad, and you're making me look bad, I need for you to step up and do things that are going to make us all look good. And here's what I think you need to give consideration to be able to accomplish that. And we can accomplish that together. Yes, you'll notice that the one theme that I always have is team. Even when somebody's a dissident, they're still on the team. We're going to try to rehab them and get them paddling that canoe in the right direction.
How do you get your team motivated around a goal, or like you said, you always exceed? How do you constantly keep that motivation high for your team to constantly exceed these goals? What do you do?
Well, there's a couple things that I think are important. Number one, I never take anybody to task in front of anybody else. If you've done something that is inappropriate or isn't meeting the team's expectation of exceeding our goals, you and I will talk one-on-one. It'll be an in-person thing. It won't be over the phone. And you'll have an understanding of, clearly what the issue is and how we can rectify it quickly. Number two, whether you report to me or you're just under my leadership guidance, I'm always going to be your wingman. I'm never going to let you be in a position to where you're going to fail if I can help it. My current leader, I was in a CEO forum. The guy that was running the forum was a professor from a very, very large Midwestern university. And my boss just happened to be the keynote speaker. So we all went out of duty to listen and give him the support. This professor was my psychological coach that my company had provided for me for 6 months.
Okay.
And so I'd gotten to know him quite well. So he looks out in the crowd. There's about 100 people. And he says, Kevin, I've got a question for you. What kind of leader is your boss?
Oh.
I stood up and I said, in front of the 100 people, I said, without hesitation, he is the kind of leader that gives you enough rope to hang yourself, but he will never let you hang yourself. And to me, that is really the epitome of leadership. Somebody that trusts you enough to run and do the things you need to do, that empowers you, that makes you successful. And then if you look like you're getting ready to go off the cliff, he saves you. Now, how many times should you get saved? I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that for me, that kind of leadership is really important. And I've been blessed for the last 10 years to have the the same kind of leader that I've always aspired to be. So those are really the key ingredients. I would say that if anybody wants to take anything away from the discussion that you and I have had today, it would be the rope.
Always be there for them, no matter what. Give them the support that they need.
There's one other aspect of the business that generally goes without saying, but I just think it's important when you're a person like me that stresses exceeding goals, not just meeting them, because if you aspire to do that, you're always going to hit your target. You're aiming higher. You have to do it with the utmost integrity. You have to do it with the utmost morality. You have to do it with the utmost transparency. I've never been one to hesitate to tell the good news, and I've never been one to hesitate to tell the bad news. It's just been one of the mantras that I've lived by, because if you think I can fix this problem before I have to tell my boss, or I can fix this problem before I have to tell the team, you can't. If you're thinking that, you can't. What you need to do is say, we've got a problem. It's been created by this, and we all need to work together to fix it. What can we do? And you need to upload that to whoever your management is to tell them, we've got an issue. So transparency, integrity, morality, those are foundational. I would feel rather remiss, Kristie, if I didn't throw that in a little bit to let everybody know that that's extremely important. You can be successful and have all those mundane traits of having integrity and being moral and being transparent. It certainly has worked for me.
You have the true epitome of leadership in mind, and that's what we need more of in this world. I'm glad that you kind of wrapped all that up. Is there anything else that you would want to say to the aspiring leaders out there before I get to my last question? Anything, one last word of wisdom to the people who are wanting to be a leader or a brand new leader?
So there was a guy that was my senior vice president back in my banking days. I had a workstation back then. I didn't have walls. And he walked into my workstation and sat down in front of my desk. And I had put together a business plan for the bank. I was in charge of consumer lending at the bank at that time in Charleston, West Virginia. And he came into my workstation, and he started out the conversation this way. He threw the business plan on my desk, and he said, "This is good, but," and I'm like, "Oh no, everything before the but." And I just looked at him and he said, "The one thing that you need to do in your career is you need to think big. You do not think big enough." He goes, "You need to think big." I said, "I don't really understand what you're talking about." He goes, "Well, rather than thinking about how you can make loans in Charleston, West Virginia, you need to figure out how you can make loans nationwide. Maybe that's going to be something that's going to be a change for this bank, and you'll be the catalyst for it. And that'll help to rocket you to stardom. Because if that's something you want to accomplish, and you are wanting to achieve things in your career, think big." I'm like, and I've never forgotten that. And so, I never dreamed that I would finish my career working for a $31 billion company, running enterprise and ancillary business for some company about, selling stuff that people don't really want to buy, but they really, really need. But it worked. It happened. It's been very gratifying for me. So that would be the one thing that might shock you, that, think big. It's what you might have to do. Now, there's others that, I don't want to think big. I just want to do what I do. And that's fine too.
You have a vision, that's great. You can meet them. But if you have the bigger vision, the bigger goals, that's how you exceed. A lot of people out there don't know who you are. Tell us a really interesting fact about Kevin Stutler.
Okay. So I did mention that I graduated from The Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio, and that I took on a second job my senior year in college. This second job was a nighttime job every day at 9 o'clock in the evening, and worked there until 4 o'clock in the morning. I was a disco DJ.
No way!
I worked at a discotheque, and I would spin record albums. Well, I had 2 turntables, and I had strobe lights, and I had red lights. And the guy that owned the bar, he goes, "Use your disco DJ voice." And so every night I started out like this: "Good evening and welcome to the Bombay Yacht Club. I am Kevin Stutler, and tonight going to have a fun night dancing here at the Bombay Yacht Club. And don't forget, at midnight, there's going to be the Bombay Prize for 2 people that can dance the best. I'll be your judge, so make sure you're out there dancing up a storm. And welcome to the Bombay Yacht Club."
Wow. That's
Now to put the cherry on the top of that, 8 o'clock on Wednesday, I had to go in an hour early. I was supposed to teach line dancing. I didn't know anything about line dancing, but again, when they asked me in North Carolina, could you do this nationally? And I'm like, yeah, sure. He goes, can you teach a line dancing class? Yeah, sure.
Sure. Okay. So I did not know that. So yeah, from what you call discotheque DJ to CEO and vice president of multiple companies. Like, you can do it too. If you're out there, you can do it too. That's good. I love that story. That's great. And I'm sure somebody out there is going to be completely inspired by that. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for being here. It was a lot of fun as usual. And hopefully everybody out there will learn how to create that winning team, that winning culture, that winning camaraderie. And hopefully something that you said today will inspire them to build that team that very similar to like what you built, the one that meets and exceeds those goals. So thanks for being here, Kevin. I'm glad you were here.
It's absolutely my pleasure, Kristie. And I'll finish with this. You are absolutely the best. I've always told you that.
Yes.
And I'll always tell you that. So if anybody has the opportunity to work with you, they should seize that opportunity because you are the best. Thank you for having me today. And I look forward to seeing you sometime in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for being here, Kevin.
As always, it is never dull talking to Kevin. From his transparency, to his teamwork tips, to his story at the end about how to empower your team and always have their back. What strategy was your biggest aha? And more importantly, what strategy are you going to put into action to create that motivated, winning team that wants to work with you? What do you need to work on? Let me know in the comments below. And if you really loved the leadership tips that you learned today, give this video a thumbs up. If you loved what you saw today and you want more, you got it. Just hit the subscribe button and the bell icon below, and you'll be notified when a new adventure is posted every week. And if you know someone out there who would appreciate hearing these success strategies, leadership tips, and motivational stories, well, hit the share button below and share it with them. They may just thank you for it. Thanks for tuning in to Kristie TV, and keep building that winning team. Do you want to be a confident, next-level leader, but your job doesn't offer any solid training? Are you unsure of how or where to start? Then let's talk. Schedule a free leadership strategy session with me. If you're a driven professional and you're serious about taking your success to the next level, just click the link in the description below. We'll talk about your challenges and next steps you can take to be the leader you're meant to be. Let's move you forward now.